Hello friends, and welcome to Borgcast, the animated series 1.1 with Peter, Anne-Marie and Lila.
Hello!
Hello indeed. And today we are covering Beyond the Farthest Star. This was inspired by an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel, the title that is, which is a bit vague to say the least. I mean, it does feature a star, whether it's the furthest star I'm not sure, but anyway. Written by Samuel A. Peoples. Does that name sound familiar?
No.
Oh, well, he was the man what wrote Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot. And so he's becoming Trek pilot man at this stage. He also contributed to the writing of Wrath of Khan as well, so the man has got talent. It's directed by Hal Sutherland, who will only be mentioned this once since he directed the whole season.
Okay.
People, including Dorothy Fontana, have suggested his colour blindness led to the weird colour choices in some episodes, but the storyboard artist Bob Klein claimed the colourist Irvin Kaplan just had odd tastes, mostly consisting of pink. And I think that's more logical, to be honest. So.
There's a lot of pink, and not particularly in this episode, but overall in the series, there's a lot of pink.
Hal has a long list of cartoon direction credits, including an episode of He-Man that definitely has a similar style of animation to this. So, yeah, makes sense. The executive consultant was one Gene Roddenberry. He saw the series as a means to an end, keeping the franchise alive in people's mind so they'd get a new live-action series or a movie. And to be fair to him, that worked eventually.
Yeah.
According to Shatner, Roddenberry's only involvement once he assembled the team was commenting on a couple of things in episodes. So an easy life, really, which is what he liked. Dorothy Fontana returned as associate producer for season 1, which I think probably says a lot about the quality of the stories. A lot of the live-action series writers returned, in part because there was a writer's strike that didn't include writing for animation, so they could earn a wage this way legally.
Oh, okay.
Famously, originally only Shatner and Nimoy were going to be returning to voice their characters from the live-action show, with other actors being brought in, cheaper actors to voice the rest of the cast. And surprise, surprise, whilst Shatner was happy with this, Nimoy insisted the rest of the cast was brought back.
Yeah.
Although Koenig wasn't included, much to his annoyance. This was the first episode released a week after I was born, but actually the fourth completed, which I slightly overlooked, although this was intended to be the pilot. And it was the first to record the actors' dialogue, which they did together for this episode and a couple of others. I mean, it's not that continuity is going to matter much, but I'll stick to the production order going forwards from here onwards.
Captain Kirk, the ship's computers. Something's going through every storage bank. It seems to be taking control of the whole ship.
Spock, can you rig a low-frequency shield like the one on the alien ship on our navigation console?
It would have a very small field.
Do it.
It's activated, Captain, but only an area 3 meters square.
Do you get a magnetic flux reading there now?
Negative, Captain.
Jim, you don't think that's going to help us. Whatever that thing is, it survived millennia in a dead hawk. All it has to do here is outlast us and just take over.
No. It must be held by the magnetic force of the dead star, and it needs a starship to break free and a crew to man it.
You are correct, Captain James T. Kirk. And I have the starship I've waited for so long. So terribly long.
You want to say anything about the opening credits?
Okay, you've got the opening credits. They look pretty.
I mean, they're simple, but I think relatively effective.
Well,
they're in
not
keeping with the original series.
Yeah, they are in keeping with the original series. They're not that different from that.
I'm not so keen on the music, which is very Alexander Courage but by Wish.com for cheapness. But, you know, what you're going to do. They've got to save money somehow, I guess.
I quite like it. It feels quite 70s.
I like the beginning, but then as soon as it gets into the that dates it rather horribly. But there we go.
Quite like it, personally.
Well, you're wrong.
So, open with the captain's log, and they're going towards Questa M17, and they're star charting.
Woohoo! Doing actual Trek stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't do an awful lot of that in the original series.
And you get a shot of the bridge, And in Chekhov's place is...
Mr. Arix. Yes, who doesn't speak in this episode, but will be voiced by James Doohan for the most part. We'll hear a lot of James Doohan's voices. He's an Idosian who will crop up in Lower Decks episodes, including Room for Growth, where one was in command of the de-stressing medical ship. He also crops up in the very short treks, but whilst I'm happy to count the animated series as canon, I draw the line with both the short treks and their even jokier, shorter cousins. Roddenberry's backstory for him that he was Chekhov's supervisor at the Academy, which is kind of ironic since he's replacing Koenig at navigation in this episode. But anyway, it's good to have an alien, and a proper alien-looking alien as well.
Yeah. He looks a bit like some kind of really quite depressed camel.
He does a bit, yes.
I think, though, that when they do episodes where he speaks and stuff and has a bit more of a role, I think he's better drawn, if that makes sense.
Not much. But
Not much?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Doesn't change much.
There's Enterprise is moving off course, even though they're powering down. They try reversing course. That doesn't help. There's a big dead star, which turns out to be the source of hypergravity.
Hypergravity.
And it's also a source of radio emissions, but they can't really make out what anything is saying. And then Spock talks about negative star mass, which I thought was a band name.
Yeah. Prog group, probably.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the drummer for Negative Star Mass.
And then another signal comes out over the radio, but they still can't quite make out what that one is either, but there's now more than one signal. And the only solution, because even though they're going backwards, they're still falling towards this thing, is to get orbital velocity and go into orbit around it instead. Having achieved that, Uhura says, I can pinpoint the sound now on view screen, and you see this amazing alien starship.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Really cool. It's the sort of thing they can only really do in animation. It's not something they'd have managed in.
And this is by design. They wanted to do stuff in animation they couldn't do in the original series. So yeah, you get very alien-looking spaceships that go on for miles.
Yeah.
I know, it's a lovely bit of design, and it clearly does look sort of grown rather than, which, was a relatively new concept in sci-fi at the time. So
yeah, but there's no life, there's no energy, so how is it sending a message? It looks to be damaged. What it's made of is some kind of unknown alloy, and it's been in orbit 300 million years. So, not a short amount of time.
No.
And Uhura says it's beautiful.
Yes, I can't help feeling in this 20 minutes of animation she speaks more than she does in the entire run of the original series. It's like, we're paying her, we're going to get to use this actor.
Fair enough. They're not sure of its power source, but they're assuming because of how well developed it clearly is and how far they are from any of the right sort of star system or whatever, they assume it must have some kind of warp. They're therefore going to go and board it, and then they put on life support belts. Have we seen those before?
No, we have not. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a surprise because it's quite cheap to wear, much cheaper than having hazard suits or whatever they were wearing before in things like the Tholian Web. Doesn't look as impressive, I guess. Although the glow is nice, although it does make them look like somebody from a Ready Brek advert, doesn't it?
It does a bit, but I'm guessing that's symbolising that there's a force field there, and they didn't have a way to show that in animation. So therefore they went for suits because it was obvious to the viewer what was happening.
Oh, you mean in live action?
In live action, they hadn't got a way to show that force field. I don't know.
I mean, I think they could have done a very brief startup effect, effectively, of the belt. So there would be they put a brief glow around a character, a bit like when the people are transported, and then then it's working for the rest of the thing. I mean, it's a cheaper alternative to what they were doing before, and of course they then never use this technology again. What was wrong with the life belts?
Oh, I like the life belts.
I mean, they're good.
They're cool.
So why do then even I'm thinking First Contact with those bulky EVA suits? I just wear a belt, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had a limited lifespan or something. I don't know.
Perhaps it was technology that they tried out, but it didn't ultimately work as effectively as having a suit on, so they reverted to suits. Who knows? Perhaps there was some horrible accident we didn't hear about.
Or there was a rivalry and this was Betamax.
Okay. Well, that suggests the sort of economy we don't get in Star Trek, so let's not go down that route.
Fair enough. As they go down, they discover that everything is hexagonal, like a honeycomb, and the metal seems to be spun, so does look like a grown ship. It also looks as though all the pods have burst open from the inside.
Yeah,
and
you get an alien vibe at
yeah,
this point, don't you? They're not going down that route, but...
So it looks like the crew destroyed the ships themselves. Turns out that the signal that was transmitting stopped when they went aboard the alien ship. So Kirk arranges a transporter lock and says, we're going to go investigate further. Then Spock starts registering energy that he wasn't registering before, and there's these sort of wands and their accumulators gathering all forms of power. Scotty and McCoy say they feel like being watched, which Spock dismisses as being, a primitive reflex to the unknown. And Kirk points out, but we are primitive compared to this, even you, Spock. Spock phases a door mechanism. How does he know that's going to work?
I know, that seemed a bit destructive to me.
Yeah.
It's like you don't go around phasering doorknobs, do you? That's going to mean you can't get in. I mean, if it phases the door, a hole in the door, that would have been more logical, but...
Anyway, they enter and there's air and gravity there, but there's interference with comms and there's no energy and they are trapped. They discover a control panel, but it looks jerry-rigged, and that's what's dealing with the interference. Then the door starts going, something is trying to get in, and they can hear what sounds like slowed-down voices and an insect projected on the screen. Is it a log? Is it a warning?
More importantly, it's purple.
It is. And Spock, his hands, it's not very good animation, but, at the time...
His hand just floats over the controls, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he's able to speed it up and decipher it, and you can hear that it says danger.
Danger, Will Robinson, yes. No, it's them being drawn to the dead star and something about them protecting others with their ship. I never quite figured that one out. Then the screen explodes and our crew are flung seemingly great distances without serious injury. They're beamed out by Transporter Chief Kyle! Yay, he's back! Except he's not voiced by John Winston. Well, They weren't going to pay for a few lines from him, were they? Aboo! He's got a Mr. Pringle's moustache, though. That's quite impressive. And a pretty crappy English accent by James Doohan. I mean, I don't know how it compares with Scottish one, but, it's rubbish. I mean, you know what he's aiming for, but he's missing the target by some way. It's a shame he doesn't get a top hat and a monocle as well.
Yeah.
That would have finished off the look, but there we go. On the upside, he's not mysteriously turned into an Asian Canadian on us yet, so there's something. He points out something has beamed up with them, although the animation makes it look like Spock is guffed. Especially since he's green floating behind his ass. Spock's guff.
Oh no, did you infect him, Lila?
Yeah, it was not as bad as one of Delilah's, obviously. Kirk orders it transported off ship, so this is clearly as bad as one of Lila's. Then the captain rudely shoves Kyle out the way to transport it himself, but he didn't give him a chance to do anything. Cheeky. They're all engulfed in the green Vulcan guff, a fate worse than death. And then it goes into the ship and laughs like the Joker, or possibly Skeletor, I couldn't tell which, but it's definitely one of those.
It is mad, and yeah, and it sounded a bit Dalek-y as well.
And when it talks, it does a bit. Again, James Doohan. Apparently, every 3 voices he did, including Scotty, he got paid more. So he always pushed for at least 6 different voices so he could get double the pay. Cheeky bugger. On the bridge, the automatic defence system activates, telescoping down from the ceiling and looking like the old security cameras you used to get in supermarkets. You know the ones I mean? The black with all the different...
Yeah. It reminded me of that, but it also, unfortunately, reminded me a bit of a shower head.
Yeah. Scotty's ordered to activate the ship's self-destruct. What, they're not doing the code thing from the bridge anymore? No, apparently he has to go down to engineering and press some buttons or something. Life support goes down on decks 5 and 6. And again, they've donned those helpful life support belts to save them. Apparently, they even protect you from being crushed by closing hatches in engineering, as Scotty finds out. So very helpful. Why do they do away with them? I don't know. Perhaps they exploded after a while. Handheld cutting beams are used to free Scotty, which look like the old 3D Viewmaster projectors. You remember those? You remember the 3D Viewmaster? Yeah. When the click, the handheld. It was like you hold a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, I know that.
Well, there was a very expensive one, which I yearned after as a kid, but we could never afford, which basically projected the images onto a wall.
Never saw that.
Oh, they were cool. Because whenever you bought a new set of discs, you've got it advertised that, and it's like, that's what I want. But it was ludicrously expensive for the time. I'll find you a picture at some point.
Oh, okay.
The ship's phasers start firing at the alien starship, vaporizing it. Power systems keep failing, and the ship is being taken under control. Kirk suggests a magnetic shield, but they only manage a small one over the navigation console. It uses the bridge defense systems to zap Kirk, So, yeah, that system worked well, and unsurprisingly, they'll never use it again. They probably pulled the plug out after this. You need a defence system against a defence system. When it targets Spock, Kirk agrees to drop the shield because he loves him. This is cunning old Kirk, and he whips off his belt. His trousers don't fall down, thankfully. Sticks it on the navigation console and then does a very Shatner-like pointless roll to avoid the defence system's beams. Spock surmises their foe is a magnetic entity that can use starships like we do bodies. Kirk tells Spock to compute a slingshot escape using only his mind, which of course he will do again. Turns out the magnetic being wants them to go to the heart of the galaxy, clearly searching for
Shakari. Q. Itu.
For Tavor.
Don't look at me like that. You knew I was going to get a Star Trek V reference in, didn't you? Kirk activates manual controls, leading the ship to head towards the Dead Star at speed. The animation at this point is slightly comical, but anyway. Kirk is zapped again, but is made of super strong stuff, unlike those puny Vulcans or something. The being flees to the star, because he thinks the ship's going to crash, pleading for them not to leave. I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely.
Yeah, it is a bit music at the end, but there we go. But he is ignored. Screw you, magnetic being. We're going home. And that's our episode. I mean, if you've not seen it before, I'm guessing the animation style is striking you as pretty primitive. But it was consistent with kiddies' animation at the time. Plus, they'd spent a lot of money on extra voice actors they wouldn't normally spend. So it was always going to be a bit cheap and nasty. But I think the story is one of the best Star Trek stories we've covered in a long while.
Yeah.
It's proper Star Trek exploring stuff. All right, again, I suppose it's a being taking over the Enterprise. We've seen that a bit, but it feels different this time because it's not a godlike alien. It's a magnetic being. We've not had a magnetic being before, so that's at least something slightly different. The Enterprise is animated beautifully in external shots, far better than that CG. And ultimately, I think the cheapest aspect, as will become apparent, is the reuse of the same music again and again throughout the series. But again, that comes with the territory for 70s cartoons and 80s cartoons.
It does. Well, can we think about it? Ulysses, they had the same music.
Every kiddies animated show just used the same stock 3 bits of music, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, overall, the animation of the people isn't brilliant.
I do love when they run and their arms come up in front of them. You don't see their legs move. You just see them
their arms
come. I don't know. It's like rugby players going towards the screen. It's so funny. And then if you get any sort of serious movement of the whole body, it's just like shadows. But again, Scooby Doo. I mean,
Well, Scooby Doo made their legs move and not the top half.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, with that sound effect.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they don't use that in this.
No, I mean the animation of the people isn't brilliant. I think you know who they are because of the voice and the uniform.
I thought they were not bad considering. I think all of them, you could, if you just put pictures in front of somebody, you wouldn't necessarily hear their voice. You could guess which, partly because of the colour of the uniforms, you could guess.
That's what I mean. Scotty didn't look like Scotty.
No, he wasn't too bad. I mean, bear in mind this is original series Scotty and not
movie
it's
still.
era.
I wouldn't have recognised him.
Oh, yeah, I would.
Yeah, mostly I wouldn't have recognised any of them. So I'm not really a fan of the way that massive fan of the way that they animate the people, but I liked the way they animated the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. I thought that was good, and the other ship as well. And it's just, I think with anything, it's just a style you get used to. And I think because I've been so used to Lower Decks, which is gorgeously animated.
Yes, that's the downside.
Yeah, is this
it's always going to look primitive compared to that.
So what I tried to do when I was watching it was compare it to Ulysses. But I think the people were better animated.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's the difference between a 70s and an 80s cartoon. Though.
You reckon?
In 80s they started doing 3D stuff, particularly with Japanese influenced cartoons. So yeah, I think Ulysses is actually one of the better animated series even for the 1980s. But 1970s cartoons, you really are looking very flat, very basic, no sense of depth.
Well, I don't have a sense of depth, do I?
No, so you're not spotting that. Okay, but it's basic, okay?
But there's just something about the design that isn't...
You think Hanna-Barbera, I mean, that was all very basic.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably...
This is better than that, slightly.
Yeah.
Not by much, but better, slightly. At least they don't move past the same bit of scenery again and again. Yet, I suppose that might
They did that in Ulysses. I remember them doing it in Ulysses.
We'll wait to see. Look out for that one.
Yeah, I think we will because that's an animation trick. But the style with the people, you get used to it after a while, and I know I will as I go on. Music either didn't bother me or I liked it.
I think you say that because you've not heard it in a while, but I do remember last time I had to watch it about halfway through going, oh, it's that piece of music again.
Well, that happened with Ulysses. I can remember after a while we were getting...
standard stuff.
But I think the main thing for me is the story is good and they've taken opportunities here. You've got an alien crew member. You've got a really weird-ass alien starship. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're not just animating without making the most of the medium. You're using it for what it's good for, which is good.
Yeah. Now, on the basis that obviously classical TOS isn't going to work for this series and classical TAS doesn't make any sense, I present Cannon or Balls.
Rock on, Tommy, you'll do for me.
Nice.
Because a lot of folk would rather the animated series didn't exist and squeeze it out of the canon. So I thought it'd be interesting to see which episodes might fit comfortably in the Trek canon and which may be a stretch. I mean, this story could easily be the basis for a half-decent original series episode, I think.
I mean, the ship would have looked different. It would have had to have
It would have been a lot more basic, but yeah.
But, I mean, that aside, the concept works, doesn't it? It fits with everything else.
Yeah, I've got no problems with this. So I'm calling this canon, personally.
Yeah,
I mean, it feels very Star Trek.
It does. Although one thing I pointed out to you when we were watching it that I just thought I should mention while we were recording is I love the fact that when Kirk is being zapped by that control panel and holding it down, there's no shacting because it doesn't move.
Animation
doesn't move, so he's got nothing to...
He actually benefits from not being very animated.
Yeah.
He was too animated in real life. Yeah. So, and plus, no sexism, no racism, no godlike any aliens yet, although this one's pretty powerful, I suppose. So, this has got a lot going for it, I think.
Yeah.
Let's find out what everybody else thought. And we've heard from Sampo and Yona, which should be interesting. They're not promising they'll do the entire series because they may well focus on Babylon 5, but they did send some feedback for this episode, so see what they thoughted.
Hello.
Hello.
So we just watched Beyond the Farthest Star.
What happened in it?
Well, it was basically an episode of Star Trek, wasn't it? Condensed into 20 minutes, Powerful alien takes over the ship. Kirk saves the day. Spock is logical.
I was just wondering why did they do the animated series? But...
Yes, I mean, instead of the live action, I mean, I guess it's dirt cheap, that's why. I mean, the animation's really low. I mean, we only just watched the one episode and we already, I mean, half the animations were already recycled within this one episode and all the people are walking and running the same way. And
their eyes were the same color as their skin for some reason. Yeah. And, they still, even when they did have a pencil and imagination, they still used the same kind of alien type, which was fog.
That's true. The fog alien could have been used in any episode of the series, unlike the huge spaceship and I guess the alien on the screen would have been doable, but I mean, if this had been an episode of the original series, the surface of the ship would have been the same field with the same rocks as every other place they visit.
There was an alien in the bridge, though, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, he was.
They didn't say anything.
No, I mean, I guess Chekhov just had a bad day and everyone chose to ignore it or something.
Chekhov? Oh, yeah, I thought they changed Chekhov.
No.
He became an alien.
No, it was a joke.
Ah, okay. Oh well.
Yeah.
It was interesting that I guess it was a ship that they went on. Didn't it look like mammary glands?
I didn't actually. Not that I thought of. I thought it looked more like a plant. But well, I guess it's a Rorschach test. You see what you see. I first thought that it looked like something had hatched out of it, that they hadn't actually destroyed it like they thought, but no, actually they were right. A bit of a shame that it was the most durable and light metal they've ever encountered, and then they just one shot with their phasers and poof, whole thing's gone. That really didn't make much sense.
Yeah.
The ending was a bit strange. I mean, I almost felt a bit sorry for the alien. It was like, please don't leave me, I'm so low. And they just ignored it and okay, let's just go on. I mean, I don't know what I expected them to do, but just to completely ignore it, it was a bit, I don't know.
Who was the bad guy in this episode?
Well, I was thinking that the gas didn't do that much bad. I mean, they only had the word of the other alien captain that it was evil, but it did shut off some life support and forced them to do something and somehow trapped Scotty in a vice.
Yeah, poor Scotty and poor cargo men who probably died in a lower decks.
No, they had their fancy new belts.
Life supporting belts.
That's something they could have done in the original series as well. I mean, they didn't need the effect. They could have just worn their belts and say that would have been a good explanation on why they could breathe on any planet, basically.
I felt bad for the poor man who just did his job when Kirk pushed him away from the desk when he needed the alien being transported.
Yeah, that was Kyle with his wonderful mustache.
Yeah.
And Kirk properly shoulder blocked him. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he was just about to transport it away, but he was like, no, let me. And then it was in the vents, and you had one job, Kirk, you had one job.
Kyle probably had one job too.
Yeah.
And now he cannot do that because his arms are broken and he's crying. And then he went to the lower decks to the deck 5 and then he died.
Yeah, probably forgot his belt. Yeah, what a tragic episode.
Poor Kyle.
Yeah, well, I guess that more or less sums up the episode. Not as weird as I remember the animated series being, but I think there are weirder episodes to come. But yeah.
Well, now that they have their pencils, the sky is the limit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what we'll do with this series, but see what happens next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Is that what we're calling this episode? The USS Mammary Glands?
Possibly. Yeah, thanks for the mammaries.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you're right. That was a thing that struck me this evening, was the way that the eyes were the same colour as the skin.
Yeah.
And it's like, how difficult would it have been just to do the eyes white? I'm not sure that would have been a massive extra bit, but apparently they can't do that. I mean, the reason why they're doing animation is because it's cheaper than live action.
Yeah.
And this is, as I say, for Gene Roddenberry, it was a sort of placeholder, just keeping Star Trek alive in people's minds, before internet, remember, so that then he could say, look, people are still watching Star Trek, even if it's animated, so let's bring back some live action. Yes, Chekhov has been permanently replaced by Arix, I'm afraid, so you will not be seeing Chekhov in this series. And it does indeed get weirder.
Yeah, yes it does. Although I did quite like your weird Kyle story that he's now got a broken arm, so he can't do his job, so he goes down to Carbo Bay 5, forgets his belt and dies.
It's a bit tragic, and
yes,
the character does return, if not in the animated series, then in Star Trek 2, of course, so with a proper actor as well. Okay, let's find out what the llama god thought.
Bumgaslog, Scotty, Fixie Coeg, Shear, yeah. The crew is in need of some shore leave. They're feeling rather flat. Alright then. Star Trek the Animated Series, something I've never watched, and I've got to say, the storytelling and characterization in this episode was really rather two-dimensional, wasn't it? Okay, good, we've got that out of the way. That out of the way, this episode actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I mean, sure, I wasn't expecting anything along the lines at all of Lower Deck style animation, because, come on, this was the 1970s. Hey, we updated the catchphrase. The animation was, of course, not quite as dynamic, but it wasn't as bad as I was feeling, and actually, the story really does zip along. This is, of course, just under half the runtime of the standard original series episode, and it doesn't really suffer at all from that. The story does zip along. It's basically an original series episode, but trimmed of any of the fat, any of the standing around, any of the nothing that seemed to happen in a lot of the episodes, and any of the padding. It just gets straight to the point, gets on with the story, and gets out, and it's done. And I kind of really appreciated that. I definitely found a lot more interest and engaged with this one than a lot of the recent original series episodes, that's for sure. One of the things I said regularly about Lower Decks was that it made good use of the format, in that it used animation to do things that you just couldn't do in live action. Does the animated series seem to do the same here? I mean, I can't say the same until we've seen all the episodes, but from this episode, kind of a bit, I guess. But then again, the original series series was incredibly limited by the budget, and they did always seem to overreach, as seen by the Blu-rays where they replaced a lot of the special effects. They couldn't really execute a lot of what they wanted to do. So in this episode, we get a really nicely designed alien spaceship. Is it the best designed alien spaceship we've ever seen? Not really, but it certainly feels a lot more alien than a lot of the things we saw in the original series. So in 1970s terms, yeah, it is actually making use of the animation format to do something different. So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying that. Sure, there are a lot of used animations in this episode, but again, because it's so short and because the pace kind of zipped along nicely, didn't really seem that bad. I mean, yeah, also, I did of course grow up watching one of the studio's other outputs, which was of course Masters of the Universe and She-Ra and the Princess of Power, and that likewise features a lot of used animation, so I guess I'm kind of immune to that kind of thing by now. But even so, it didn't seem that bad, really. And the animations looked really faithful to the original series and just seemed to be the original series, but animated, which is, what more could you ask for? The story of the episode itself is a good, solid science fiction one. It's pretty much a staple, but as I said, the episode's quick, so it's an out and done before you can get bored of it. An alien takes over the Enterprise and wants them to go to the heart of the galaxy. That doesn't sound at all familiar, does it? And then they throw it off at the end by slingshotting around the planet. I just love that conceit. We're just going to break quickly and the alien will fall off. Brilliant, wonderful, love that. A bit of nonsense, but hey, what original series isn't nonsense? So yeah, that's absolutely fine. Performances seem okay. Nothing too bad. You can at least benefit from the original cast being there. Obviously, it's not as dynamic as doing live action, but I've also heard worse voice performances, so yeah, it's fine, really. The big issue I'd have so far with the series, really, is the theme tune. It's not the Star Trek theme tune, is it? This is easily the weakest of the Star Trek theme tunes completely. It has echoes of the original series theme, but at the same time, it just seems like generic 70s theme tune nonsense, so yeah, I'm really not keen on that at all. One thing this episode did do was it made me reappraise the armour that they have in Discovery. Now, I've not been a fan in any medium of this concept of nanotech armour that's in a lot of shows and movies now, where the character just press a button, the entire body gets covered in armour. I just don't like that, especially when the helmets flip open and shut rapidly so you can see the actor's face, so you can remember who's on the payroll. Really don't like that. I much prefer things like, say, going back to the original Iron Man, where he's got really chunky armour. I mean, yeah, sure, some of it's visualised in CG as well, but it's treated like it's a thing he has to take off and on. I really prefer that kind of armour. I'm just not a fan of the CG nanotech. Yeah, I just don't like that at all. So I wasn't a fan of that when they brought it into Discovery either. The Discovery that's kind of set in the same era as the original series. But that said, in this episode, they have magic force field belts, which, that's kind of along the same line, isn't it? That's kind of similar magic. Yes, I know, obviously, it's a shortcut because it's easy to animate that way, but, if this is canon, then it kind of fits in. So, yeah, I guess I'm not going to complain about Discovery armour too much anymore, given that they could have also just been magic belts. I'll complain anyway, spoilers. And the other good thing about this episode is it doesn't end on a joke. They just finish, there's no forced laughter, they just get on with it, job done. So, yeah, this is a really positive first experience. I wasn't bored or disinterested or disengaged or anything, which is something I did feel during a lot of season 3 episodes of the original series. So yeah, promising start to this, promising start. And as I say, I've never seen the animated series before, never even read any James Blish novelizations of these, if there were any. I really don't know what to expect going forward. So yeah, looking forward to this ride. So as ever, I'll be looking forward to finding out what everyone else made of this. I hope no one else is feeling particularly flat. Yeah, okay, I'll stop. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Cheers, sir. Yeah, I think it's about the right length.
Yeah.
For a Star Trek episode, personally. So many of the original series episodes were too damn long, and this is trimmed to perfection, rather like Carl's moustache, really. So,
no, he's trimming all the padding, all the nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got just your basic story, and it feels like an original series episode with all the fat cut off. So that's not a bad thing. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Blish did adapt these, as he did with the... Because those books really sold back in the day, because obviously that was people's access to the stories, because there was no video or anything. And he did pad out the animated ones somewhat as well, which is not a bad thing, I think. I like the magic belts. I think, and I agree with you, that the awful... It's not just Discovery, but other series as well, that as soon as they could create armour out of CG, it never looks real. Just appearing from nowhere, rubbish. I'm trying to think, there's another example that occurred to me as well, and I can't think what it is now.
I think it depends, for me, on what it is you think the armour is doing. It's like, if it's some form of force fieldy deflector shield thing that things are going to bounce off, then I don't have a problem with the idea of it being sort of practically invisible technology. But if it's supposed to be something that's an actual protective thing that can take and withstand dents to it, if you see what I mean, then it needs to look more real than it often does. So that's the thing, is it's something that things are bouncing off. I'm thinking of Blake 7, where we don't really see it happen, but you're thinking about the description as deflector shield. It's deflecting everything away, isn't it? So it doesn't have to be able to withstand a lot of dents. As long as it's got power, it will deflect things. So that's fine. That can look as...
I know what I was thinking of, and it was Iron Man again, but not the basic suit, but the one in Iron Man 2 that comes out the suitcase.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't look like it could have been stored in that suitcase. It's just rubbish.
Yeah.
I love that. Break wildly and lose the alien.
Yeah.
I break turn.
Yep.
Bye, sucker.
Yeah. The whole slingshot thing, have they used it already, or do you think it's just... Because I know they use it...
Well, they do the slingshot to travel through time, but obviously that's not what they're attempting to do here. So
no. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe try an episode out on Scrapple It. We did try an episode out on Al Quinn, but they're blooming 19, so this was never going to work very well for them.
They just went, is that it?
Yeah. That wasn't much of a story. It's like, yeah, that's much better than the boredom, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, Scrapple It may well be the right age. Or then again, he may be used to more sophisticated animation and take one look at this and go, no thanks.
Yeah. A bit like, I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I was very dismissive of anything in black and white.
Yes. We've heard from Puri.
Hello, Orgs. Parry here to talk about Beyond the Farthest Star. Yes, the start of the animated series. For a brief history of me with the animated series, I remember it being shown, I want to say on like a school holiday. They did it on like their early morning like programming, and I remember recording it like must have been age 14, 15 and thinking, what the hell is this nonsense? And I mean, it's a disavowed series. Gene Roddenberry famously never considered any of it canon, and it's actually been Lower Decks has done a lot of works to start trying to bring animated series back in. Again, I watched it for The Edge of Forever, actually. It was the first time I actually rewatched it again, and I had a lot more fun with it. And I think this one, watching it again, okay, there's things you watch, particularly Beyond the Farthest Star, and you're kind of going, oh, some nice shots there. Yeah, I hope you like them. You'll see a lot of these. It's made on a budget, and the upshot of this being the first episode is you haven't seen that shot of Spock looking up from his panel, or that weird top-down view of the bridge where Uhura looks like she's just like properly lounging in her chair. A lot, but sometimes you are looking at it almost thinking, God, you can see where they're just trying to stretch out the seconds of animation. It's not quite Danger Mouse levels, but we're not far from it. The episode itself, one of the things I'll give credit for is they really took advantage of the animated format. The first time we kind of kick straight into it, and we've got a huge, weird-looking alien spaceship. They didn't have spacesuits because, again, no one could be arsed drawing it. So we've got the environment belts or atmosphere belts that just make them look a bit like they've been eating their ready brick. And the episode itself, it's kind of multiple bits, really, because we initially have the exploration of a mysterious derelict, and that bit's actually quite atmospheric. I was really quite into that, and again, just the big, weird, animated look of the whole ship and everything. And then the ship gets possessed by a weird alien thing, including, as it turns out, we never knew the ship had like some sort of phaser projector mounted in the roof, for its internal defense system. That's something which was quite worrying. But yeah, the next part is a bit more traditional Trek of something weird's taken over the Enterprise and we've got to get rid of it. But again, for a Saturday morning kids cartoon, which bear in mind this was for children on a Saturday morning, that's what it was built for, and to have the end of them flying away for all to the triumphant music of this, now admittedly quite malevolent entity, suddenly going, no, don't leave me, so lonely, so lonely. That's kind of one of those bits where you're going, you went hard quite fast there, didn't they? Again, yes, it doesn't expand its stories too much. It's fairly slight. It's almost, it's been eating too much of that overly sugared cereal. It's kind of it's looking at a cool spaceship, and then, we're crashing into a planet, then we're looking at a cool spaceship, and then we've got a thing on board, and then we've got rid of the thing, and we're done. It's keeping things changing to obviously keep, kids engaged. You're not going to get long form, slow storytelling here, but then they only have about 25 minutes per episode, so it's a miracle we get anything, and I think they really tried to cram a lot into this. But yeah, overall, I still think it's an entertaining 25 minutes of telly. It's not boring at any point, and I really appreciate in this one in particular that they tried to make things look, they don't just have to put a wobbly head on someone or, reuse the same set 15 times, although we will say the same animation cells reused 15 times, but, we got some beautiful backgrounds, a big weird looking spaceship. They really put the effort in this first one to say, look, we can do more, we're animated, we're not constrained with what model we can build or what sets we can dress up or how much cardboard we can stick on someone's face. And I really appreciate that. So yeah, overall, had fun. And if nothing else, I think what the animated series has is there's only 25 minutes. I think what we'll hopefully find is nothing will outstay its welcome. So yeah, looking forward to going on another journey through the animated series. But you guys do keep up the good work. I'm always looking forward to the podcast, and I'll hopefully be back in the next one. But until then, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. I'm glad you had fun.
Yes, I've had enough of long-form stories, so 20 minutes is pretty good in my books. Mind you, we've got a very long episode of Babylon 5 to cover next. Well,
it's a nice contrast because, Babylon 5 is long, but it still packs a lot in, but it is longer. So to contrast it with something that's shorter is a good thing. And yes, I think particularly with animation, particularly because there's not much facial expression in the characters, because they weren't capable of it, I don't think, back then. They do have to keep changing the scene to keep you engaged.
Yeah.
They have to keep the picture moving, as it were.
I definitely think the exploring the ship was the better part of the episode.
And it was atmospheric. I thought it was really good.
It was very clever the way they did that, because obviously they did a very big picture and then just zoomed in on certain bits.
Yeah.
So it made it look like the scenery was changing a lot when it wasn't so much. It was just you were looking at different bits at various points.
Yeah.
And that top-down view of the bridge of her all splayed back for some no good reason is odd. Never understood that.
No, but never mind.
Cool. Well, I think that's mostly positive.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Well, let's find out the next episode gets such a positive reception. We're covering on the 19th of June. It's More Troubles, More Tribbles.
Oh, right. Yes, I remember that one.
Yep.
Yep.
You can guess what features in that.
Yep.
But next week, on the 12th, on the Borgcast Galactica feed, we shall be covering The Gathering in all its piloty goodness. Well, we'll find out how it stands up. Well, whether or not you join us for that, till the next animated series, we'll catch you next time you hear us blithering on. Take care. Cheery bye.
Bye-bye.
Theme for Star Trek The Animated Series was written by Ray Ellis and Norm Prescott.
Any music used in this podcast is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
We have a Facebook group which you're welcome to join.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Find us on Blue Sky at broadcastammo.bsky.social
and revorg.bsky.social.
Shut it down!